Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Facebook Live brought to you by Legal&Tax Services. I'm Dylan Berger, I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at Legal&Tax Services, and alongside me we've got Natasha, who's one of our senior legal advisors and lawyers here at Legal&Tax Services. And today we will be discussing about our rights to your heritage in the workplace, because as you know, on Sunday, the 24th of September, we celebrated Heritage Day, which is a day not only for braaiing, which many South Africans do, but it's also a day where we celebrate our diverse cultural heritage here in South Africa, which makes us truly the Rainbow Nation. So if you have any comments or any questions or anything you'd like to ask us, please feel free to do so. And we'll be discussing some brilliant topics regarding heritage in the workplace, and it really is going to be a really informative conversation. Natasha, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, and you, Dylan?
I'm very well, thanks. Very excited. I've got a lot of nice questions to ask. So, Natasha, let's start off by talking about what does our Constitution tell us and protect us with regards to our heritage?
Okay, in terms of the Constitution, we are protected. Our heritage is protected. Normally, you'd look at Section 9 of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, which clearly states that you cannot be discriminated based on your tradition, your culture, your heritage, and the languages that you speak. And this is also seen in Section 15, 30, and 31, which speaks about the same things I've mentioned, and they say you can't be discriminated. Okay,
so there's many provisions in our Constitution to protect our heritage, to protect our culture, and it's very important that we enforce this when we feel that when they have been put in jeopardy.
Yes, it is very important.
Okay, great. So when we talk about the workplace, when many of us work every single day of our lives, when one is in a job interview and applying for a new job, is it important to disclose your heritage or your religion or your culture when you're in an interview and potentially speaking to a new employer?
Yes, it is very important because the employer needs to make provision for you. For example, with religion, we've got different religions in South Africa because we're a democratic country and we're diverse as well. They're Muslims, they're Christians, they're Hindus, different type of religions. And in terms of our calendar, there's provision for Christians and for Muslims.
Correct.
So you do need to inform your employer so that when the time comes, for example, you can apply for leave, and then depending on the company's policy, then they'll give it to you, and they also prepare to let you go at the end of the day.
So it's very important to have open lines of communication to clearly inform your potential new employers about your heritage, about your culture, and should you have to require leave to honor and to respect your culture.
Yes. For example, with religion, we do have a case, for example, where there was an employee who was being told he needs to work on Sundays. The employer had been informed way beforehand that he is a Christian and he was a preacher as well. And there were times that he never went on, he never took overtime whenever it clashed with his Sundays. So at the end of the day, he was called in for disciplinary hearing because he refused to work on Sunday when the company had to request employees to work overtime on Sundays for operational requirements. He was then called for a disciplinary hearing and then dismissed. The courts then found out that it was definitely discriminating against him, and the employer knew about this beforehand, that he took his Christianity really seriously and it was a part of him. Okay, so he disclosed it to his employers. The employers did not respect that. They didn't honor what he had told them. And then it led to his dismissal, and then he went to the CCMA, I assume. Yes, he went to the CCMA. And after that, he did go to the Labour Court, where it was found that it was an unfair dismissal based on his
interesting.
religion.
Very interesting. So our laws are there to protect us and protect our culture. So while we're on the topic, when it comes to taking religious leave, when people want to celebrate the holidays that are very pertinent to their religion, does it come out of your paid leave? Is it unpaid leave? Well, what's the best way to go about that?
Okay, this is all going to depend on the company policies. Okay. In some companies, they would give it to you as annual leave. In some companies, as unpaid leave. And then in some companies, they do make provision. So you don't touch your annual leave. There is provision for religious leave. So it all depends with your company. And the company cannot discriminate. If the company gives it to other religions, to other people practicing other religions, it has to be across the board. So they need to give it to you.
Could you just come a little bit further into the camera so we can both be nice and focus in line there. Now, when it comes to compassion, life happens. We all know that there's people pass away, there's bereavements. When it comes to compassionate leave, and when somebody's had a death in the family or bereavement, how is one allowed to celebrate or commemorate a death or bereavement in their family, which is in line with their culture? What is an employer's responsibilities in terms of that?
Okay, in terms of the basic conditions of Employment Act, you have 3 days for compassionate leave.
3 days,
yes.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, if in terms of your culture, you need to be away for a week, you do need to inform your employer that this is what's happening, and you need to always give them an update about where you are and what's happening.
Got you. All right, so as we said from the beginning, the lines of communication need to be clear, constant communication, and obviously keep your employer on the same page as you so they can manage their expectations.
Yes.
All right. Now, we just finished winter. It's summer. Summer's in full bloom. We just finished winter, and many people get sick during winter, which requires them to go to doctors, to take leave, to get sick notes. Now, some people feel more comfortable going to traditional healers when they are sick to get the necessary treatment. Is a traditional healer recognized, or a sick note recognized from a traditional healer? Would that suffice in terms of the right documentation?
Okay, South Africa is rich. It's a diverse nation.
Very much so.
And not everybody believes in the modern day doctor and medication, the modern day medication. And in terms of the law, you are allowed to practice your beliefs.
Okay.
So some would go to the traditional healer. And in terms of the law, as long as the traditional healer is registered with the Traditional Health Practitioners Act, the Traditional Health Practitioners, you can go to that healer. Okay. And that healer is then supposed to inform in the sick note, like modern medicine doctors, they do write sick notes. Okay. So the traditional healer can also write a sick note and clearly state what you're suffering from, when you'll be back to work. And we do have a case with that one, where there's a lady where she was a chef, and in this case, what happened was she was having visions. And she went to a traditional healer. Okay. And the traditional healer wrote a letter to her employer and informed the employer that, look, she's going to be away for 5 weeks. It was
5 weeks. Okay.
It was going to be unpaid leave.
All right.
But the employer disregarded the sick note and said, you know what, you still need to come to work.
Okay.
And because she believed in tradition, she believed in traditional medication, she believed in the healer was going to assist her, she still took the days off and only retained after her 5 weeks. And then she was called in for a disciplinary hearing. Okay. She was eventually dismissed.
All right.
It went all the way to the Supreme Court of Appeal.
Wow, okay.
And in the Supreme Court of Appeal, it was said that, no, the employer should have found out what happened, okay, should have believed what was going on. Okay. And it was found that it was an unfair dismissal. She was discriminated on depending on her tradition.
Wow. Yes. Okay, so it's very important that employers take the necessary steps and that they fully respect the documentation that comes through, and that they fully examine, is it from a registered practitioner, are they recognized, and follow the necessary steps where applicable. Because if they don't, then unfortunately they're going to have a bit of a case in their hands to deal with.
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
Very interesting. So we've already spoken about what the Constitution says about our heritage, how the Constitution protects our culture and our heritage. We've spoken about what happens in a job interview regarding disclosing your heritage and disclosing your religion to a potential employer. We also spoke about when it comes to religious leave, whether you're allowed to take it as paid or unpaid leave, and that's obviously at the discretion of the company. And we also already touched on about compassionate leave when it comes to deaths or bereavements in a family, how different cultures have different ways of honouring when people have passed away. So it's obviously the 3 days are given to us, part of our contracts. However, anything over and above that is at the discretion of the employer. And then we've also spoken about already about when it comes to sick leave, the role of traditional healers, that they are recognized, they are registered, and that they need to be respected, and the notes that come from traditional healers need to be taken seriously. Okay, just a reminder to all our viewers, if you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to post them. If you watch this video later and you think of something, you're more than welcome to message us. You can send us an email at info@legal&tax.co.za, or you can go to our website, which is www.legalandtax.co.za, or you can send us a message via our Facebook page and we will get back to you. All right. Moving forward, Natasha, some topics that come up regarding heritage. When it comes to marriage, now different cultures, different heritages have different rules and regulations when it comes to marriages. Some have traditional marriages, some have white weddings, some marriages are registered, some aren't registered. What is our constitution? What does the law state when it comes to marriage? What's the right way to go about it?
Okay, in terms of the law and the constitution, remember you have a right, it's a fundamental right that you can practice your tradition.
Okay.
So remember with traditional marriages, they're celebrated in a traditional way.
Okay.
There's some norms that need to be followed
for
it to be recognized as a traditional marriage.
All right.
And in this we mean, for example, there has to be a celebration. Firstly, there's the meeting of the elders.
Okay.
The paying of the lobola, and there has to be celebration after the lobola has been paid. So, and also the parties have to be above 18 and they need to consent to this marriage.
Okay, so consent and above 18 is very, very important.
Yes, definitely. Okay. And then, then the elders meeting, the celebrations, the negotiations, the lobola has been paid. And in some cases, doesn't have to all be paid. As long as there's, you've paid some of it. They can say pay 10,000 and then your husband pays 5. At least the intention is there.
Okay.
Yes, in terms of the recognition of Customary Marriages Act.
Okay.
Those three things need to be fulfilled.
Okay, got you.
And then I can't stress this enough though. Once that is done, yes, it is a valid marriage. Once all those things are there. But what you also need to do is to register it in terms of in South Africa.
At Home Affairs?
Yes, at Home Affairs.
Okay, got you.
Yes.
Got you.
You need to register it at Home Affairs.
Okay.
That way, it's important because at the end of the day, you're protected and there's proof. Because in some cases, when someone passes away and they didn't like the sister-in-law, the deceased wife, for example, people can be like, no, they were not married.
Okay, so then they could come back later and say that wasn't a legal marriage. And then all the rights that you had before that fall away.
No, you'd fight. You'd have to fight for the assets. Then it all goes to court.
Okay.
So it's important that as soon as you're married, within 3 months, take the letter, go register your marriage at Home Affairs.
All right. So get married, and then as soon as possible after that, go down to your local Home Affairs office and register your marriage with one of the officers there.
Yes, and there's a letter that's given. In some traditions, they do give a letter to acknowledge that this is what's happened, and this is our son-in-law, our daughter-in-law, witnesses are there. So you just need to take the letter, your ID, go to Home Affairs.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, yes. I'm learning as everyone else is learning at the same time. Now, if you feel that your rights or your heritage or your culture has been discriminated against, what can one do? What should one do when they feel that they've been discriminated against, they aren't able to practice their religion or their culture or their heritage? What is the first step that somebody should follow?
Okay, I'm going to, because we're discussing in the workplace.
Okay, gotcha.
In the workplace, you lodge a grievance.
Okay, first is to a grievance,
your HR, yes. And then they're supposed to set a meeting and then internally investigate what's happening. Okay. Regarding that grievance. And the employee needs to prove that he was discriminated against. Okay. For example, on religious grounds. For example, there's the case where there were 5 prison guards who were discriminated against because of their hairstyle. They had dreadlocks.
Okay.
And then it was said that no, they were not dressed appropriately.
Okay.
But when it went to court, because it went all the way to the Supreme Court of Appeal, it was said no, the employer failed to show that their dreadlocks stopped them from carrying out their duties. Okay. Gotcha. They tried to say, but it's discipline, everyone else will copy, but they said no, you knew that in their religion they need to have dreadlocks. It's a part of them, it's an inherent belief, it's their tradition. And remember also in court, they look at things like when someone starts working for you, that person, when they come into your company, they don't leave their personality outside the door.
Definitely not. Definitely
so you
not.
come into a company with your beliefs, your traditions, your religion, everything. So the company needs to accommodate, and there needs to be a balance.
Gotcha.
Between the employer and the employee.
Okay.
And but the employer should not discriminate against religion or tradition and things like that.
Okay, so like you said in the beginning, so when somebody does feel that their heritage or their culture or their beliefs have been infringed on at the workplace, the first step is to go to HR.
Yes, and you must also have the evidence that they've been infringed.
Very, very important. So you have to have the evidence, you go to your HR, you lodge a grievance. If you feel that your HR hasn't dealt with it sufficiently, what would be the next step?
The next step would be to then go to the CCMA.
Okay.
Depending on your type of work, it's CCMA or bargaining council.
Bargaining, okay, depending on what line of work you're in, all right?
Yes. And then that's when the process starts. Conciliation, then arbitration, then labor court if you're still not happy, like in the case of the dreadlocks.
Okay.
The employer kept saying, no, your dreadlocks, they're not part of the uniform. We need you to be smart. But that's all they were saying.
Okay.
Yet it was a part of the employees. It was a part of them in their tradition.
With you. All right, so very important that you need to also have your evidence in place should you feel that you want to take the matter further.
Yes.
All right, and what would be form of evidence? Would it be like emails? Would it be like recordings? What would form like sufficient evidence?
Okay, for example, with discrimination, like for example with us here, we're a diverse company.
Very much
okay.
so. Very
so
much
let's say I practice another religion,
okay,
which is not in the calendar, which is not like with the holidays, Christian holidays or Muslim holidays.
With you?
And then I apply for leave, and the company just says no, we can't give you religious leave.
With you?
But X then goes and applies again, and they don't give any reasons.
Okay.
It's not an operational requirement or anything,
right.
because with operational requirement they can refuse as long as the company can show that occupational requirement.
Okay, very interesting.
Declined it. So at the end of the day, they cannot decline for me without sufficient reasons and give someone else.
Okay, with you.
With dressing, for example, they cannot say I can't dress traditionally, but they're letting someone else dress traditionally.
All right,
they need to give sufficient reasons as to why they're saying I should.
So it needs to be consistent.
Yes.
So if what's good for one should be good for the other person.
Yes.
And if a company is not being consistent, that's when you have to escalate the matter.
Yes.
Very, very important, very interesting. Now, on another topic, just regarding, when we're getting back to when it comes to traditions versus what is actually recognized by the law, when it comes to inheritance, because many people pass away, they might have a will in place, and they also have inheritance. What is, in certain cultures, inheritance works a little bit different compared to what a will might state. What is the law? What's the best way to go about that?
Okay. For example, back in the day, there was the Black Administrations Act, which discriminated against. It was mostly used for the black side.
Okay.
So it discriminated on the female children.
All right.
Okay. They could not inherit at that stage.
They couldn't inherit.
Yes, the females could not inherit
from their father's estates.
Yes, from the father's estate.
Very interesting.
They could not inherit.
Okay.
But when it came to the law of succession, it changed all that.
Okay.
So when a father passes away, mostly we find that when fathers pass away, the family, the blood relatives, they believe that because their son, their uncle has passed away, they now need to inherit, forgetting that there's a wife, forgetting that there are children as well.
Okay. Gotcha.
So in terms of the Law of Succession Act, the wife has a right to the assets, one, and then secondly, the children as well. So it's no longer just because their sons, the females can't, because we do have cases where someone can phone in and say, look, my brother passed away. Yes, he was married, customarily married, but I want the assets or the house. Whose house is it?
Very interesting.
Was it a celebrated marriage? Yes. Community of property? Yes. Then the wife is the one that should inherit if there is no will, and the kids, not just because you're related, then you need to acquire the assets.
It's very important that one has a will in place.
Yes.
So we need to make sure, and that's one of the services we can help with here at Legal&Tax, a simple will, that one has a will in place so you can avoid any confusion or any sort of disputes in the family should they arise upon a person's death. All right, so Natasha, we've had a wonderful conversation here discussing our heritage, what role it plays in the workplace, what role it plays in society today. We've spoken about what the Constitution allows for it. We've discussed about in the workplace when it comes to when you're in an interview when you're applying for religious leave, obviously you have to take in operational requirements of the company into consideration as well. We spoke about compassionate leave, and when it comes to bereavements and deaths in families and how different cultures have different ways of respecting that. But at the end of the day, we have 3 days of that, and anything over and above is at the discretion of the employer. We also spoke about sick leave and how traditional healers are recognized, and employers need to respect those sick notes that do come from traditional healers. And we also touched on the dress code in the workplace, how traditional marriages work, and also inheritance. So it's been a really informative conversation. If anyone has anything they want to ask us, any questions, please feel free to comment or send us a message via our Facebook page or our website at www.legalandtax.co.za, or you can call us on 0860 587 587. That's 0860 587 587. So I hope you all had a great Heritage Day on Sunday. I hope you all had a great braai. It's been great speaking to you. And Natasha, thank you very much for your time. You've been very professional, and it's been great chatting to you about this. And we look forward to seeing you guys soon. All right, thank you very much, and goodbye.
Oh no, it's still live and it's videoing me.